Sebring we want to show you. This is a common issue on these vehicles that I want to discuss, where the timing belts are recommended to be changed at 90 or sometimes even 105,000 miles, and we almost always see them blow beforehand. Manufactured 9 of 03 by Daimler Chrysler. And look up here in the dash, 85,903 miles. Technically 4,000 plus miles away from needing a timing belt as far as Chrysler says. Here at the front of the vehicle, as you can see here, no tricks, that's a Chrysler Sebring. And this is the same, this goes the same for the PT Cruiser, the Eclipse, and many other vehicles that were produced with the 2.0 and the 2.4 dual overhead cam engine, such as this one here. This is the 2.4. Very, very similar to the 2.0, and the same thing applies. We've got cam seals, timing belt, tensioner, idler, water pump, spark plugs, a thermostat gasket, and we're also going to be replacing the coolant temperature sensor. Now I've pulled the upper timing cover off of this engine here, and let's see if I can zoom in here a little bit and put some light on this for you. There we go. Now I want you to notice right there, you see that timing belt, how it's hitting that cover. And you'll also notice, pan out a bit here, you'll also notice that the belt is extremely loose. There. Now I've personally seen numerous of these vehicles at this mileage here and less. I have seen them from 72,000 miles and up with a broken timing belt. I've seen this on PT Cruisers, I've seen it on Eclipses, lots of those with the 2.0. I've seen it on the Sebrings. This one, these people got lucky. Now this car came in for nothing more than a complaint of a fluctuating temperature gauge. Customer didn't hear this timing belt slapping the cover when the engine was running. That's going to be making some considerable noise, but most people just think it's regular engine noise. Plus it comes in really slowly, so you just don't really realize it. And this car came in for a fluctuating temperature gauge for one reason, and something you can look at if any of you have a fluctuating temperature gauge. You know your engine's not overheating, or maybe it is overheating and you're concerned of that, and sometimes your temperature gauge doesn't work, sometimes it does, maybe it doesn't work at all, maybe it's just stuck on high on overheat. What happens with these vehicles, and it's fairly common, here is our coolant temperature sensor. Okay. You can still see that. Now what I'm going to do, I've already released this and it's ready to just slide off, so I do not recommend ever pulling something off by the wiring like this, but since it's already disconnected, I can pop it off of there. Pulling the wiring. Now you see that goo, that red goo at the bottom of the connector there, and it's still kind of moist. See that? Full of coolant. Full of coolant sludge, I should say. It's the residue left behind from months or years of evaporating coolant that had been leaking out of that sensor internally. And what happens is, for some reason, there's a hole in the brass on the other side and it's leaking through somehow and getting into that plug, or the thermostat has just done so much leaking right here up above it, which we know the thermostat is leaking, but the only other option is the thermostat's done so much leaking that it's over the years filled up that connector, and because the main issue here is a bad connection from the leaking. And we do replace the sensor and we do wash out this connector here. We want to make sure those are really good and cleaned out, and then we put a little bit of dielectric grease inside the connector there to show you this. I guess the best way is to just kind of destroy it and show you what's going on with it. Destroy it the rest of the way, I should say. Okay, see all the cracking? I don't know if you can see that or not, all the cracking in the rubber. Deterioration of the rubber. And when this rubber gets rough here, this little valve doesn't seal. And when that little valve doesn't seal, antifreeze is allowed to slowly seep out of the system into the reservoir tank. so the system will never build up pressure. And also leaking water pumps and leaks other places in the cooling system can cause the same issue, where it doesn't build up pressure in the cooling system, and you can have overheating issues there as well. If when your engine is warm, if you squeeze this radiator hose, any of your radiator hoses or heater hoses, with the engine fully warm and a good cooling system, you'll have pressure in the system. Thermostat is here underneath this little fill neck. Two little 10mm bolts, pretty easy to change out. We're going to be doing that. We're going to be putting a new fan belt on here. Most importantly, we're going to be putting in a new water pump and timing belt. Now, remember I showed you the top of the timing belt there, really loose. One other thing I want to show you on that timing belt, if you notice the little lighter colored lines there, what those are is actually the nylon ribs inside the belt that are exposed and partially worn away. The reason for that is because the rubber on the belt has worn away on the teeth of the cam gear, and it is basically has worn all the rubber out of that groove, and it is starting to wear away at the nylon ribs. Now when that happens, the belt gets really loose, and you know, all the slack is taken out of the tensioner. There's a really easy way to check your water pump and see if it's leaking. I wouldn't say real easy, but on these cars, on Eclipses, you can just look right up under there without taking off any plastic or anything. On the Sebring, you got to take off some plastic. Okay, now we're under the car here, and that is the underside of the water pump. You see a little bit of coolant trailing off of it right there. Now some of that actually could be running down from up above, but you notice right from behind the pulley, in the very center of the screen right now, there's a little trail going down right there from the water pump. Now that right behind, right at the top of that different colored line that's a little lighter, is the weep hole from the back of the water pump. When the seals of the water pump start leaking, the antifreeze comes out the weep hole and runs in a line down, goes down to the bottom of the pump, runs down and drips off. We always replace the water pump. Even if a car comes in that has had a recent water pump change and they didn't do the timing belt, which is kind of rare, we insist on replacing the water pump as well, because it's a crucial component of the timing belt system, because the timing belt actually drives that water pump right there. And you'll see a little coolant right there too. So that's how you check your water pump. See if it's leaking. So we've got this vehicle disassembled. The entire front of the engine is torn down. We've got the cam gears off of there. As you can see, the cams sticking out. We've got the inner and outer timing cover off. We've got our thermostat housing moved aside. We've got the water pump removed. Let's see the water pump right there, where the water pump used to be, I should say. So we're going to clean that all up, clean up all of this. We're going to pop in a couple of new cam seals up in here and here, and put it all back together. But before, I wanted to show you this water pump. Now the water pump, remember, let's see, I showed you this up underneath the car, and I told you there was a weep hole behind this gear here. You see that trail? There was our 3 bolt holes that we could see from under the car. And now if we look behind the pulley, we see a little hole up in there, and we see another little hole up in there, right in the center of the screen underneath the pulley. A couple of holes. So that's where our antifreeze comes from. So we've got the water pump and tensioner assembly installed. Front of the engine is cleaned up, and we've also got our new cam seals installed here. And so we're ready to put on the timing cover, the inner timing cover, and then after that it is the idler pulley, and after that we slip on the timing belt, set all our marks right, and start putting the rest of it together. So there's our timing belt and water pump installed, our new pulleys, new idler and tensioner. See how that belt is tight now on the top. Not touching the timing cover anymore. See that new belt? Cannot see the nylon bands in the belt because it's a new belt. I'm going to go ahead and put the rest of this together now. Finish this thing up and throw some spark plugs in it, and we'll fire it up here after we get the cooling system bled and see how she runs. Everything is complete now, ready to start. So if everything is right, if all our marks are right and everything was installed correctly, this car will start right up and run like a top. If it was not installed correctly, potentially the engine could blow up trying to start it. If cam timing is wrong, valves will hit pistons, and that is why it is so critical that the timing belt be done, in our recommendation, early at 70,000 miles or before, and we recommend that it be done by a professional master technician. These are a very tricky timing belt on these vehicles. They're one of the more difficult timing belts because, as you can see, there's really not a lot of room there to be able to maneuver around that engine. As you can see, the timing cover right there, really close to the shock tower, and everything is just sort of packed in there. So let's go ahead and start it up and see how it runs. So I guess it's safe to say that everything was installed correctly, and everything seems to be working perfectly. Now the only thing that's left is to take it out on a test drive and give it back to the customer.